I got an email this morning from someone in another country who's would really love to be here with us, and at this time can't. And but he's always like trying to figure it out, and a lot of us are trying to figure it out and meeting and discussing and researching, you know, who can he marry to get a green card? Like we're like looking at each other going, okay, is it me? You know, how are we going to work it out for this guy? I hope he doesn't watch this because he hasn't heard that plan yet. Yeah, hope that's okay. But he said he read Count Your Blessings this morning, or I don't know, nighttime, morning, whatever day it is for him. And he said, I have an idea. And I thought, is this going to be a visa idea or something? He said, I'm going to try to get 50% awareness. And it was so beautiful. It's like he can't get reminders from us. You know, he can't come to the work day. He can't come to the tool meeting. He can't walk on this property. He can't, you know, walk past Justin's trailer. It's like he made it. He discovered us, you know, he found us, he came and met us in Mexico, and he fell in love with Justin and with us, and there he is out there. He's going to try to do 50%, and I haven't, you know, responded to the email, like, I don't know what that's going to look like for him. I know what it looks like for me when I say I'm going to do 50%, you know, do you know what it is for you? Like, what is your strategy for the day, for the week, for the month, for life? Like, what level of awareness is any of us shooting for? Like, overall, yeah, I'm going to go for 50%. But how about in this moment, in this moment, in this moment, in this moment? It's always slipping away. You know, the intention is always slipping away, the hope. It's difficult. Anyway, I really respect that he's trying it, and I'm humbled by that with so little support other than, you know, a WhatsApp call periodically or watching the videos online. That he's going for it, he's trying. And even to think of the other people who haven't met us yet, and they're trying in their way to be free. Like Leonard Cohen saying, you know, I've tried in my way to be free. Like, have I tried in my way to be free? It's almost laughable if I were to say yes. You know, you should laugh at me if I say, yeah, I've tried in my way to be free. You should all kind of just laugh, you know, and roll your eyes. Like, who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? You haven't done shit. You've barely scratched the surface of freedom. And you want to claim, I've tried. We've barely scratched the surface of trying in our way to be free. In any case, saying we, I'm including you, schlubs, in the we. But we have, I've been seeing a physical therapist and some chiropractors and some cranial sacral people, you know. So anyway, this physical therapist I'm saying I have some balance problems and a little bit of visual problems. And he's like, okay, well, let's see what we can do. I'm sure we can help you. Why don't you walk from here to the mirror on the far side of the room, you know, and I'll watch and then I'll assess. And so I walk, and he's like, yeah, he's very thoughtful. He's like, so you're kind of scissor, you know, crossing legs. And I said, oh, that's from my a supermodel runway, you know. That's how I was taught, you know. And he said, really? I said, no. What's that movie, Zoolander, you know? I said, no. He said, well, let's see, try to, there's like a center carpet, you know, he said, try to walk along the carpet and keep one foot on either side of that center line of the carpet. And, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm like Shrek, you know. Like he said, much better, much better. He said, I'm going to say you're a fall risk. I said, you think? Is that because I tripped when I came in the door? You know? And he showed me, you know, if he stood like this, and he said, okay, try to push me over, you know, and so I just go like this. And yeah, if you're standing like this, you're very easily knocked over. If you're walking like this, you're more likely to fall over. And then he had some sticks. He said, okay, so he said, so when you walk, try to walk, you know, not crossing your feet over. And he said, and here's some sticks. So he gave me the sticks, which a number of you have also given me sticks. And he said, so now walk, you know, the length of the floor here using these sticks. I'm like, okay, so I'm like, stick, foot, stick, this foot, this, you know, come back, I'm sticks and foot. And he's like, okay, so here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to do. Try to go like left stick, right foot, and then right foot, left stick, right foot, left stick. And so I did that. It was a little tricky, just to, you know, right, left, and keep it together. But he's like, much better, you know, do you feel how much more stable you are? And I'm like, yeah, thank you. I probably could have paid almost any of you $177, and you could have told me that, you know. You probably could have watched me walk for 10 seconds and said, okay, let's see what we could do. And so, and other practitioners have some tips and tricks as well. You know, a speech therapist lady, which is more for the cognition issues. What do you call them? You know, mnemonic devices. You know, she shows me a picture and says, okay, memorize these 6 things, and then takes it away. And what were they? And it's like ladybug, golf cart, donut, and, you know, and then of course I can't remember the last couple. And so she says, okay, let's go through this again and why don't you make a story where all these things, you know, fit together. And now I'm going to ask you again, okay, what were they? And I'm like, oh yeah, so I was in the golf cart eating a donut, and I look at one was a sunflower, and I see a ladybug on the sunflower. It's like, okay, it's all, there are tricks, you know, because I have a mediocre memory. There are some tricks that people know. And we have those also. You know, that this fellow in the other country wants to get to 50% awareness. He also has some of these. We have tricks, tips and tricks that Justin is offering us. Like, if you want to raise your awareness, if you want to raise your consciousness, there are ways to do it. There's all these incredible, like, secrets. They're not so secret. You know, you shouldn't blame. It'll change your life if you stop blaming. You know, if you can move a little differently with awareness, it can change your life. And look at what, they've got 20 people in the world who know these tricks. who have the possibility of, as fast as we want, to raise our consciousness, to get up to that 50% and higher that this fellow is trying to get. Like, we know exactly how to do it. You got 8.5 billion people out there either not interested, or the very select few who are interested don't have this great good fortune to be here, to meet Justin, to know these tricks, to have the support, to have a pathway to a finer consciousness. Like, of all the pain and suffering in the world, of all the tragedies in the world, like, that we don't take advantage of this, moment after moment after moment. That's a consciousness tragedy. It's not a human pain, suffering tragedy, but we have our own, and it's entirely escapable. All those people, it is often not escapable. It's so painful, but that we're here and it is escapable for us. And how many moments are we just mechanically bopping along, blending our thing and walking the thing and it's like, it should be like, God damn it, don't let another moment go by. It's so, and to feel the possibility that it might do something for them. We don't know that, but I like the idea of it. I believe the possibility of that. The butterfly, whatever, and on the other side of the world, like, who are we helping? Who can we help? How much of that balance can we tilt a little bit by another moment of being here, being present? It's a very tight weave that we're trying to break out of, or a very solid shell that we're trying to break out of. But the little birdies do it, I don't know how they do it. They break out of that little shell, So it's like every day we're in this tight shell of unconsciousness. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but hope you get the idea. It just feels so critical, and there's so painful and so critical and so much possibility. I think of the like in the movies where there's somebody, they're looking for the secret, doorway or something like that, and there's you got a big bookshelf, right? And they're like, okay, I know there's a secret door around here somewhere. There's a secret door around here somewhere, and they're pulling all the books off the shelf, and finally, or by accident, they lean against it, and the doorway opens, or like here we've got the books that were being suggested to read. It's like, take Lost Horizon off the shelf, and you take it off the shelf, and you like enter another world. And it's not that the shelf opens, it's that your mind opens, that your heart opens. It's not opening out there, it's always, the opening is always here. And we've got this library of books and movies and songs to like help us crack out of that shell, these songs to listen to, books to read. It's like Justin's offering us, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's like the kids go into, you gotta, like, don't you want that for yourself? Aren't you always hoping that maybe, or I would probably stop hoping, but when you're young, don't you wish, like, maybe I'll go through this, you're in a some old house or something. You're like, maybe I'll open here and there'll be some treasure inside. Maybe I'll go through this door and I'll fall through the wardrobe. Maybe some miracle will happen in my life. I don't know what age, you had it, if you had it, what age you lost it. And I think it's very difficult to consider the possibility that we did actually finally find it. We have actually found it. Like, I talked with some people the other day, like, I don't know if everybody dreams of, meeting the Buddha, being found by the wise teacher, tumbling through the wardrobe into an enchanted land. But you had some dream of something, and somehow it ended you here. These meetings, I remember I used to tape them, video them once just, and finally was okay with that. Said, okay, you can audio, okay, you can video, and so we have a lot of meetings that were videoed badly, because our equipment was kind of mediocre, and then somebody would shift in their seat, and I wasn't there to watch. So anyway, but we would name them, and there's one called Our Favorite Story, and I only remember just in like one sentence of saying, I don't know what you're thinking I'm going to say, I just always say the same thing. It's just always the same thing. All I do is tell the same story over and over again. And I was thinking, he talked, say, 50 weeks a year for 40 years. 5 times 4, that's 200 times. Nobody's going to correct me?
It's more than that.
It's 2,000. It's more than that. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Never go in front of a live public audience and not know your math. So I think it's 2,000 times. So that he's told that story, this story of how to go from here, and sometimes he'll be like, okay, and let's start with this flower. Okay, let's start with this cup, whatever it is. And he'll like lead us all the way, as far as you're interested in going, as far as you can hang on to that ride, like take us all the way up to the divine, however you want to refer to it, whatever you want to call it, however long you can hang on to the ride that he's leads us on, that he's willing to lead us on, that he just day after day after day, conversation after conversation, that he's pointing, he's like tapping. Oh, okay, okay, a little bit there, a little bit there. Oh, careful there, careful there, careful there. Like in the bigger picture, that's what he's always doing. Tap, 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 tap. Course correction. Tap, 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 tap. And it may be a little bit out into the world if that's what you need. If you need to explore the world a little more, it might be a tap, tap, tap. Like I worked at McDonald's for a while because that was his great suggestion. Okay, it's a slice of life that I never would have, I was not on track for, but that taught me some things, I discovered some things. So if you're heading out in the world, he has a little tap, tap, tap like that. Or if you're ready, at a certain point to do the turnaround, he has the tap, 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 because there are potholes all around us. Potholes all around us. Anyway, I love the idea that he can go and we can go, from the the tangible, the concrete, just all the way, all the way, all the way. And there is a balance, because some people want to just always talk about the all the way, talk about the all the way, talk about, philosophize about the all the way. And he's going to say, no, 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 no. What do you think about this? What do you think about that thing you just said? You know? Somebody suggested I read question number 65. This will be my last thing here. The question in his book it has some Q&A. Do you think that humans as a species are going up, evolving, or just in a holding pattern? And obviously he knew this person and said, well, I think the question really for you should be, am I in a holding pattern? What's keeping me in my holding pattern? He said, you want to talk about philosophy? It's an interesting question. We could talk about it another time. But right now, for you, what's keeping you in your holding pattern? Like, that's his job. If we want to know, we might not want to know. But if you do want to know, this is the place to be. If you want to know yourself, know yourselves, know them so that you can't be fooled by anything you do. You can't fool yourself. This is the place to be. And there's some people trying to get to 50% and beyond. And I really respect that. Okay, I think we'll have one more speaker, and
so it's interesting. Thanks, Johanna. That was far out. Johanna thought of asking me to speak today, and I thought of speaking today, and it turns out we're going to speak on sort of the same topic. Having to do with our fortunateness and the place we're landed, and but I'll start somewhere else. So I just recently returned from a trip to New York City with Renee and Tish, and for my first time there, and I heart New York. I really loved it. And we did a lot of the normal things that people do in New York City, and had a great time and really enjoyed it. Got to know the subways and the museums and the parks. And one thing that we did do that was different than what most people would think of doing in New York City is we have an old friend who lives there, and she belongs to a black church in Harlem. She's white. She's, as far as I could see that day that we went, she was the only white person there besides us. And it was quite an experience. Some of us had been to a black church in North Carolina on a service trip a number of years ago, and it was amazing too. They had this, it was different though, because they had this really great choir, and the music was wonderful. The preacher just preached a sermon, and this was a little different. It was instead of a choir, they had a stage with 7 singers. Each one had a mic, and then there was a central singer, and they just belted out these songs, and the congregation sang along, and for a long time, really. And then they had a baptism ceremony. There's a window up high with water in it, and they dunk these people into the water and baptize them. And at the end, they invited anyone that needed to come down front and get some love, basically. And a lot of people went down and got hugged, and there was a lot of tears, and and it was a 3-hour service. And the preacher um, at one point he started preaching a sermon, and he talked on this verse from the Bible, which I realized is, I've never thought of it since I was a kid, probably, but I knew this verse. It's, thou hast set a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. What's that? Basically, I am blessed. I can't think of the last line, but it was, I am blessed. And he spoke for probably half an hour about this verse in particular. And listening to this sermon and taking this whole 3-hour service into consideration, I really realized at some point in that service that these people needed this like food. They needed it like food. They don't have our kind of life. They lived in Harlem, and they wore nice clothes. They were really welcoming to us, but I know that their lives had a lot of difficulties in it that we don't have. We have some difficulties, of course, everyone does as they go along, but we don't live in the violence and the drug scene and all the things that happen there. And we have the right color of skin. We're pretty set up in this world. And thinking about that, realizing this is what they need. They need this. And it wasn't that the message wasn't for me, but didn't hit me the same. It's like, okay, as Johanna was saying, or putting out, that we're pretty privileged here, and we've got something here that's very rare, very rare. We've got a teacher that knows how to take us where some part of us wants to go. And he's given us tools and methods and books and music and guidance, just so much guidance, personal guidance. We've really got it all. We really have this golden opportunity right in front of us, right at our feet, all the time, every day. And realizing, seeing that juxtaposition of that congregation to my life really made me look at my blessings and think about, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing with these blessings? How much, like Johanna was saying, our friend is wanting to, 50%. 50%. That's higher than I've aimed, but why not, Why not? And I've seen proof. I have seen proof in myself and in my friends of what can happen when we apply what we know, when we apply these methods. And I've seen some of my obstacles decrease a lot, and it's because of the guidance, the tools, the methods, everything, that the whole 9 yards that's put together here to give us this, minestrone soup of opportunities. And, when I was a little kid, I had a good childhood, but I'll just say a negative part of it is that I remember being a little kid and saying something, having an opinion or wanting to put forth something, and getting shut down, quite a bit actually. And I didn't like that, so I fought back and I got defensive and and this is something that has, this kind of defensiveness has followed me through my life. And, becoming so aware of that and using the tools and the methods, and my friends here who can point it out to me, ask me questions about it, I've become more and more and more aware of it, to the point where it's really a lot less. And like I can see something, can see it coming up in me. Like the other day I was with a few friends, and I don't know, like these little tiny feelings come up, like, oh, they just ignored what I said, or why didn't they agree with me, or all that kind of stuff that comes up. And every time something like that came up, I just saw it and I went, forget it. And it just went away. It just went away. It didn't like stay in me, make me upset. I didn't say something bad, It was just like pretty much easy to get rid of. And this is like because of Justin and what he's given me and us to work with. And it's like really so much being able to see ourselves, to observe ourselves, and to get help observing ourselves is, you can't see something over and over and over again and shine the light on it. When the light's shown on it and you see it, you kind of like, I don't want that. I don't like that, It works. It really works. Last night, a few of us watched this movie called The Snow Walker. Is that what it's called? Snow Walker. A number of us has seen it recently. And I'm just going to give you a little very brief synopsis so you can see what I'm talking about. So basically, there's this guy that was in World War II. He's a young guy. He was a fighter pilot, and he's a complete jerk. I mean, as much of a jerk as you can possibly imagine. He's really bad. I didn't even want to watch the movie when I saw him, it's like, but my friends had said it was a good movie, so I was like, okay, I guess I can get through this. So, total jerk. So, so anyway, some circumstances happen, and they're in Alaska, and he ends up with this Eskimo girl in the middle of nowhere, and with nothing to survive on, basically. And, well, basically his plane crashes and he's taking her to a hospital. So anyway, they're out there and he's just pissed, and he's like throwing things and swearing, has this fit for a long time. And she sits there and watches him. She doesn't look away. She watches him. But she has no expression. She watches for as long as it takes. And it takes a long time. And this particular type of episode happens several times throughout the movie. He'll go into one of his hissy fits, and she'll just watch. That's it. And finally he'll cool down. And anyway, I won't tell you any more of the story, but her watching, was really something. And it made me realize that that's what Justin is giving us inside of us, is a watcher, someone that can just watch. Like, okay, what's that going on inside of me right now that I want to snap back at that person? What's that going on inside of me right now that I can't say what I'm thinking? What's that? What is going on? Just noticing, it's not like, it's not even, you don't have to feel bad, it's just like, huh, that's interesting. We have these methods and each other to help us develop that watcher that can just watch while we're doing whatever we're doing, And after a lot of watching and a lot of help, you kind of start putting two together, and the watcher starts seeing things just when they're about to happen, Ah, there's that thing I do, That watcher is one of our best friends, really. It takes some doing to develop it. It takes some time. It takes some effort. But gosh, if we can try for that 50% or 20% or 10%, whatever percent you can do, you'll get there. You'll get there. That's it.